And it looked like the ESPN reporter has just dropped some major information about Caitlin Clark and everybody in the WNBA 2026 season. Guys, we got to talk about this one.
An ESPN journalist has just revealed news that could derail the entire 2026 WNBA season. The collective bargaining agreement runs out tonight at 11:59 p.m. Eastern, and the two sides remain completely deadlocked. Caitlin Clark's rising momentum now faces the real threat of being halted by a lockout the owners failed to avoid. The Caitlin Clark effect brought millions of new eyes to women's basketball, reigniting interest across the league. And now, because of money fights and bruised egos, the league risks
apologizing. You make decisions, marketing. I want people watching. I want eyeballs. I want advertising dollars. Why? Because he'll get paid. Y'all will get paid. And guess who else will get paid? You see where I'm coming from? That's what it's about. Stop acting otherwise. We know this. You don't sit up there and pass on Caitlin Clark. It was stupid, Team USA.
An ESPN insider has just dropped information that could seriously jeopardize the entire 2026 WNBA season. The league's collective bargaining agreement expires tonight at exactly 11:59 p.m. Eastern, and right now, there is no agreement in place. Talks have stalled completely. The massive momentum created by Caitlin Clark could be wiped out overnight if a lockout happens, something the owners had every chance to avoid. The Caitlin Clark effect brought unprecedented attention, revenue, and new fans to women's basketball. Yet the league now risks losing it all because of financial disputes and bruised egos. It's an incredibly short-sighted situation. Team USA fans are asking the same question. Will the WNBA really shut everything down and undo everything Caitlin Clark helped build? Share your thoughts below. ESPN reporter Alexa Filippo has outlined the nightmare possibilities the WNBA is facing as the current collective bargaining agreement reaches its expiration. The deadline is set for 11:50 p.m. Eastern tonight, just hours from now as this news emerges. The potential outcomes range from troubling to disastrous, and every single one threatens to stall or completely erase the momentum women's basketball has gained over the past year. The timing makes matters even more critical. The WNBA has major upcoming deadlines that can't simply be pushed back, including a two-team expansion draft. Filippo detailed 4 possible scenarios, and understanding them is key to realizing just how badly league ownership may be mishandling this moment. Scenario 1 is a mutually agreed-upon extension between the league and the WNBPA. This would be the smoothest option, allowing games to continue while negotiations move forward. But there's a major issue. If an extension were realistic, it likely would have been announced already. With the clock almost at zero and silence from both sides, it's clear neither party is willing to give ground. Owners are resisting concessions, while players are fed up with consistently losing out. Scenario 2 involves no extension at all, pushing the League and Players Association into what's known.
Are we ready to admit the Caitlin Clark effect? Is this happening without Caitlin Clark? Without the popularity? Because we've seen what happened to the ratings when she was out for those 2-3 weeks. Remember that, right? Don't let me bring that up. Don't let me get some receipts now. When Caitlin Clark was out, the WNBA's popularity dissipated. That is a fact. Ticket prices, television ratings, it's a fact. It's undeniable. It's undeniable. That's not to throw shade on a product and act like it doesn't grow at all. It's not to say that there was an improvement and there wasn't an elevation in its popularity. It's just saying that it's on another dimension when it comes to Caitlin Clark. Do you know what the best thing that could happen for the WNBA is right now? Are you ready for this? If Caitlin Clark and the Fever win the championship. If that girl won the championship this early in her career,
this means that the current CBA would stay in effect while both sides continue talks. Filippo made sure to clarify that the lack of an extension does not automatically lead to a shutdown. In this case, the league would simply be postponing the problem, staying functional while negotiations drag on. However, this would only be a temporary fix and would fail to solve the deeper issues at the heart of the dispute. Scenario 3 is a work stoppage. This could take the form of a player-led strike or an owner-imposed lockout. This is the most extreme outcome. It would completely destroy the Caitlin Clark momentum and could set women's basketball back by 10 years. If fans expect games in 2026 and instead see canceled seasons and closed arenas, many won't return. Casual fans don't stick around during labor conflicts. They find something else to watch. Scenario 4 is the unlikely miracle where both sides agree on a brand new CBA before the deadline. Filippo stressed that this option appears completely unrealistic at this point. There are no serious discussions about a full agreement. The divide between ownership demands and player needs is simply too large to close in the limited time left. The situation becomes even more urgent when you consider the upcoming league deadlines. The WNBA is preparing for a two-team expansion draft featuring the Portland Fire and the Toronto Tempo. These organizations paid enormous expansion fees expecting to build teams and compete. If a work stoppage happens, what becomes of that investment? Do they just sit and wait while their first seasons are pushed into uncertainty? On top of that, nearly every veteran player in the league is entering free agency this offseason. This was supposed to be one of the busiest and most important free agency periods in WNBA history. Teams were expected to make major roster moves, reshape their lineups, and build.
Because this is the most popular women's basketball player in the world, and it ain't close. They had to move the Mystics game to an NBA arena. Name the time. And I'm going to turn it over to you because I don't want to get long-winded. I want somebody, one of our women colleagues, Stephen A., to tell me when a WNBA game has had to be moved because of a woman player. Just one. Just tell me one. Because I know in her attendance, she's averaging about 17,000. All the other WNBA games in which she's not a participant average about 7. So are we really trying to go to game? Is that what we're really trying to do? Or are we just talking about we're trying to grow the game and just bull-jiving?
People who closely follow the league are all asking the same question right now. What actually happens to the WNBA if a lockout occurs? Does the draft still take place? Does the lottery still happen? Do teams select players who aren't allowed to sign contracts or step on the court? A work stoppage doesn't just cancel games. It creates chaos across every corner of league operations. Every system freezes, every timeline collapses, and uncertainty spreads everywhere. Now let's focus on what this situation means for Caitlin Clark, because she is the single biggest reason millions of casual fans suddenly started paying attention to the WNBA. Clark didn't just bring hype. She delivered measurable results. Television ratings surged to levels the league hadn't seen in decades. Arenas sold out nationwide. Women's basketball became must-watch television for people who had never watched a full game before. The Caitlin Clark effect wasn't a narrative. It was real, proven, and immensely valuable. But momentum is fragile, especially when it comes to casual fans. These aren't lifelong basketball diehards who will stick around through labor disputes and canceled seasons. These are viewers who tuned in because Clark was electric and the product was easy to access. If those fans expect to see her play in 2026 and instead discover the season is canceled due to owners and players fighting over money, they're gone. They'll move on to other sports, other entertainment, and other ways to spend their time. The owners are making a massive miscalculation if they believe fans will patiently wait for negotiations to conclude. Sports fans have endless entertainment options and very short attention spans. The WNBA finally broke into mainstream awareness, and now the league risks throwing that breakthrough away over contract disputes. That's what makes this moment so frustrating. For the first time in its history, the WNBA was actually becoming profitable. For decades, it survived on NBA support. Then Caitlin Clark arrived and everything changed. Ratings exploded. Merchandise sales soared. Ticket revenue skyrocketed. Corporate sponsors who had ignored the league for years suddenly lined up with major deals. The business model finally worked. And now, instead of building on that success, Ownership is risking everything by refusing to share those profits fairly with the players who created them. It's short-sighted greed that could permanently kill the golden goose. The timing couldn't be worse for another reason. Alternative leagues are ready to pounce. Unrivaled Basketball and others are positioning themselves as legitimate options. They're offering competitive salaries, shorter seasons, and better conditions. If the WNBA locks players out, these leagues are prepared to sign them immediately. They aren't experiments, they have serious funding and long-term plans. If players leave during a lockout, what happens when the WNBA eventually returns? Do they come back? Do overlapping contracts create chaos? For decades, the WNBA had no competition. That monopoly is ending, and a lockout hands power directly to every rival league trying to establish itself. Expansion only highlights the dysfunction. Portland and Toronto paid massive expansion fees based on projections driven largely by recent growth. They're building infrastructure, hiring staff, and marketing new franchises. Now their inaugural seasons could be wiped out before they even begin. The Portland Fire and Toronto Tempo deserve better. Their fans deserve better. They invested at the league's most promising moment, and may be punished for it. From the players' perspective, this isn't complicated. WNBA players have been underpaid for years. They flew commercial while NBA players flew charter. They practiced in subpar facilities. Many played overseas just to make a living wage. Now the league is finally generating real revenue, and players want compensation that reflects their value. That's not greed, it's basic economics. However, the players face a real risk. By allowing a lockout or strike, they may destroy the momentum that made their labor valuable in the first place. Casual fans don't return after canceled seasons. The Caitlin Clark effect doesn't survive a year without games. Winning better contract terms could come at the cost of long-term growth. The 30-day extension was supposed to force urgency. Instead, it created a dangerous game of chicken. Owners think players need the league more than the league needs anyone's star. Players think the league needs Clark-driven momentum more than it needs rigid profit margins. Both sides may be wrong, and the league itself could be the casualty. Media coverage has been strangely quiet. Maybe it's because women's sports still don't get the attention they deserve. Maybe everyone assumes a deal will happen at the last second. But casual fans don't even know there's a crisis brewing. They'll only notice when they try to buy tickets and realize there's no season. And by then, it's too late. The draft situation makes everything worse. The WNBA draft is supposed to celebrate the future. Stars like Paige Buecher's entering the league. But if there's a lockout, does the draft even happen? Do players get selected and then sit in limbo? Careers could be delayed before they even begin. College stars may start choosing other leagues that offer stability. Free agency would be frozen. Months of planning disappear overnight. Teams can't improve. Players can't move. Championship windows close without warning. And through it all, Caitlin Clark waits. She has no control over negotiations. Her brand will survive anywhere. If another league offers her a chance to play, she can take it. The WNBA cannot afford to lose her, but she can afford to lose the WNBA. The CBA expires tonight. No agreement is in place. If the season is lost, casual fans won't return. Momentum will die, and the league may never recover from wasting the biggest star and greatest